So in this work, as we have said this evening, we stand on the shoulders of giants, as they say. And for anybody who has worked with the Institute, there are a number of women on whose shoulders we stand, and we do this work proudly every day. Maybe we're on their shoulders, or maybe we're in their shadow, one or the other. Certainly, first and foremost is you, Sylvia. You showed us the way. Lillian, Ghazala, Marcin also showed us what it meant to come together across difference and welcome community into human spaces. But if you have ever spent time on our program staff, there is one name on whose shoulders you stand and one shadow that you operate in, and that is Katie Gordon's. Brilliant, organized, connecting, but above all else, Katie showed me as a part-time intern how you go about building relationships with people, how you go about making a human connection where you aren't just working on a project, you are a part of one another's existence. You become one life together as you are making that journey. Katie is a former Interfaith intern, a former program manager at Kaufman, and an ongoing inspiration and role model for yours truly. She is a writer, teacher, and facilitator of contemporary spirituality and monastic wisdom. She lives in Erie, PA, with the Benedictine Sisters and is the coordinator of Monasteries of the Heart, an online monastery translating monastic wisdom for contemporary seekers. Katie also teaches Catholic spirituality at Mercyhurst University, coordinates the Formation Project, and is one of the co-founders of Nuns and Nuns. She has a Master's of Theological Studies in Religion, Politics, and Ethics from Harvard Divinity School, and a Bachelor of Arts in Religious Studies and Political Science from Alma College. Please welcome Katie Gordon.
Well, thank you, Kyle, for that incredibly kind introduction. I'm glad that my shadow is still felt here. I hope that it is an inspiring, encouraging one. It's so good to be back with so many familiar faces. It truly does feel like a homecoming. This place, the Kaufman Institute work, the leadership of Sylvia, of Doug, shaped so much of my early vocation in this work. And so it feels very special to be able to be here tonight, and especially to be here tonight and speak to what the future looks like and where we can find hope and where we are moving forward. And I want to first just thank the vision of people who created this room. As Kyle said, I really do believe relationships are at the center of this. And Sylvia, the vision that you had decades ago created countless relationships that have transformed our lives, transformed the communities we're a part of, the world we are in. And that is an incredible legacy to leave. And I'm so grateful that you followed your ideas and created all of this. So thank you so much. And Doug's leadership to really initiate and build what has become the Kaufman Institute is also such a cultivation of multiple spheres. It's not just a community organization. It's not just a campus organization. The relationships are across West Michigan. And of course, the staff that enact the vision as well. Many of you I know, many of you I'm meeting tonight, and I'm grateful to see how the work is growing. So tonight I was invited, I think, to speak on youth leadership, my own cultivation as a leader within the Kaufman Institute, and also where it is going for the future of this work. And I'm so grateful that the Kaufman Institute continues to recognize that younger generations will lead us in building broader, inclusive communities, societies for us all. So tonight I'll reflect on my own journey of interfaith leadership, which began in college, was continued here at Kaufman, and led me into the work I'm in now. And I'll share a few lessons that I hope are relevant for us all as we are looking toward what the future of this work might look like. My own journey with Interfaith began in my sophomore year of college at Alma College. I spent time the summer before in northern India, and I went initially to work with an NGO associated with the UN. I thought that that's the path I would follow after I graduated. But what I found in northern India was a beautiful tapestry of a spiritual landscape. I saw the roadside Hindu shrines, the monks at the Dalai Lama's temple, the Golden Temple in Amritsar, and the tradition of hospitality in the Sikh tradition. I was awakened to a spiritual landscape beyond what I had been introduced to in Muskegon, Michigan growing up. And I came back so curious to learn more about what that landscape looks like in Michigan as well. So I met with a professor who took time out of his busy schedule to just sit and listen to a rambling sophomore who was trying to figure out her purpose in life. And at the end of the conversation, he said, "Well, have you heard of Interfaith? I don't exactly know what that means, but I think you might find something there." So our college had recently started a campus organization that I promptly joined and probably became vice president of or something like that, and got involved with Interfaith Youth Corps, which is now known as Interfaith America, got trained up in what interfaith leadership tenets are, and got involved with what it meant to be an interfaith leader on a small college campus. That ultimately led me into the work with the Kauffman Institute, where I was an intern one summer and then came back as the program manager after I graduated. And what I was so excited about in developing the Kauffman Institute work was the work with young people. I knew from my experience what a transformational thing it is to be given sort of the platform to listen to each other's stories and to ask each other questions and to really expand our own worldview of what it means to be a human in this world. And so I came and I wanted to develop these campus programs through the Kauffman Institute. We were based at Grand Valley. That was an obvious platform, but there are all these other colleges and universities in the Grand Rapids area. So we developed programs to have interns from those schools. And much of those years was working with these students who came from all different disciplines. It's not like there's a major in interfaith leadership, so they came from all different programs across the universities. And what I loved about that challenge and the gift was that it taught us all that interfaith leadership isn't just about organizing interfaith events, where we all go into the room and talk about what interfaith is. The true power of interfaith leadership is revealed when it's applied into all of the professional sectors that we are a part of. In our increasingly diverse and pluralistic society, we all need to understand how to respect, honor, and cultivate community beyond our differences. So interfaith leadership, as we developed it with these students, is about building the capacity for compassionate and courageous leadership that is grounded in identifying common ground, understanding one another, and collaborating for the common good. Ultimately, through my working with students, I found much of what Cecilia was speaking to in the young people that I got to know, and it was a desire for community, a longing to be a part of something that embraced the whole of their identity and called them into contributing to the world with the gifts that they offered. Several of the students I worked with were secular or secular humanist or agnostic. They were the so-called NONES nuns, this significant category that is only growing with younger generations, where young people tend to check the box, none of the above. I don't know what I believe. I'm not sure what I'm affiliated with. And Grand Valley, West Michigan was like any other place in the country where this population, this community was growing. So whether they were non-religious because they were LGBTQ and unaccepted by the religious tradition of their upbringing, or they just couldn't quite sign on to the beliefs that they had inherited from their family, they were unaffiliated, yet deeply engaged with these big questions of what is meaning, what is purpose, what does it mean to be a human? So seeing this need through my work, I ended up leaving Kauffman to follow that curiosity around community for non-religious or spiritually diverse young people. The community work of building new forms of spiritual community. That led me to create Nuns and Nuns, NUNS, Catholic Sisters, and NONES, non-religious young people, that brought together Catholic sisters and non-religious young people into conversation and collaboration together. That work started 7 years ago with the Dominican sisters in Grand Rapids, continues with religious sisters across the country in many ways. The curiosity around community also led me to Harvard Divinity School, where I studied and worked with multiple efforts that are focused on creating community and connection for these generations that are seeking it, who are leaving religious traditions in traditional senses behind, but still following a curiosity. And perhaps most surprising to us all, I ended up living in a monastery. I've talked to several of you, and I can't really explain exactly how I ended up living in a monastery. But for the last 5 years, I've lived in a monastic community, a Christian monastic community in Erie, Pennsylvania. I got to know the Benedictine sisters while I was doing my work with nuns and at Harvard Divinity School. And I was drawn to this rhythm of life that centered something bigger than myself. It was a vision of meaning that I was invited to as well as anyone else who was invited to it. And so I took them up on their invitation and asked if I could move in, and they said, okay, sure. So I've lived with them for 5 years, and now I coordinate an online monastery that's an outgrowth of their work and Joan Chittister's work that seeks to translate monastic wisdom for contemporary seekers. So as I reflect on these experiences that I've had since I've worked with the Kaufman Institute, the thread that's been pulling me forward is not just interfaith community, but intergenerational community. Something that young people are longing for, I think, as much as older generations are. I love what the Quaker elder Parker Palmer says about his intergenerational friendships. The younger people in his life, he says, help him to see the horizon in front of us. They offer him a view that he doesn't have. We all stand at different positions on the curvature of the earth. And because of that, we have to let each other know what we are seeing from where we are standing. And this is the beauty of intergenerational mentorship. It's a two-way street of mutual seeing, learning, and growing. This expansive horizon is alive in the monastic community I live in Erie. When I moved into the Pox Priory, or Peace House, in February 2020, my 5 housemates were all octogenarians, women in their 80s, and between them, they had committed nearly 300 years of religious life and community service. They showed me every day what it looks like to play the long game of contributing good to the world. They showed me that horizon. They modeled a way of life that balances good work and holy leisure in a way that you can manage to stay at it for 60 plus years and never retire. And at the same time, my living there showed them a new horizon. I introduced them to new ideas through our conversation, new words. We shared books, we hosted movie nights, especially during the pandemic when we couldn't do anything else. And whether it was new friends who came over for dinner and shared with the sisters what their social engagement looks like, what the critical analysis is for the social issues they're working with, or it was Zoom trainings that the sisters and I participated in from our community, my being there and my active offering of the horizon that I'm seeing for us all shifted our collective imagination for what is possible. And the same is needed for every organization and every community if it is to remain relevant and evolving into the future. We need to be sharing what we are seeing. And for interfaith work, this is why youth-led efforts hold such hope for us. Those of younger generations see the horizon. They intuitively understand the world we're living in and feel deeply the needs of that world. And we're all needed, all generations, to develop the leadership in young people for this type of work, to invest resources into their visions, and to provide grounding for their purpose. So just as Sylvia Kaufman and so many others have devoted their lives to this work, we are all needed to make the same kind of commitment to whatever purpose it is we are showing up into. And commitment is not easy, let alone a lifelong commitment, into a goal that will likely not be reached within our own lifetime even, a goal that we might see the seedlings of, but not the fruition of. But in the monastery, I've witnessed the values that can help sustain our commitment into that long game of the work we are a part of. Sisters and monks love to talk about their vows, and I love to ask them about their vows. They make 3 promises when they join monastic life. And I think that each of these promises offers each of us a great deal of wisdom on how to live fully as well. They offer us a way of being as we stand here at the curvature and share with each other the horizon that we see. So the first commitment, the first vow is stability, to find a stable foundation. So whether it is a faith tradition that one finds a sense of stability in, a community, a friendship, a relationship, a family, or a philosophical way of life, we each need to identify what it is that we can rest in and return to. We especially need this as our world continues to be unstable and uncertain. Being grounded in something is important so we can find inspiration when needed. We can create this root system that will draw energy into the continual work. My favorite artist, Corita Kent, says that the rule number 1 of the classroom and of life is to find a place you trust and try trusting it a while. It all follows from there. The second value, the second commitment, the monks, the religious, call it obedience, but the way that they translate that to us is holy listening. It is a deeper level of listening to oneself and to the needs around you. We need to hone our muscle for deep listening. Beyond the noise of contemporary life, beyond the blur of social media, we need to listen deeper to what is going on beneath the surface of what someone says or how someone acts. And this goes for ourselves first and foremost. In spiritual discernment, we call it listening to the still, small voice within. That takes a lot of effort and a lot of muscle growth in order for us to actually do that. And when we do it with ourselves, we're able to do it with those around us as well. In a time where our attention is monetized by the social media market, we know especially that our attention is sacred, and we can reclaim it through the act of listening. And thirdly, the third commitment is conversatio, or continual growth, continual change, to remain radically open. In the midst of our changing world, we must learn how to embrace the reality of change and remain open to those possibilities. One of my favorite theologians who I read while I was working here with Kaufman is Ramon Panikkar, and he wrote a book called Interfaith Dialogue. In it, he argues that in interfaith work, where we're engaged in dialogue between 2 different belief systems, 2 different people, we must always also be engaged in an intrafaith dialogue within ourselves. We cannot go into something closed off from change with that encounter. We must enter into each encounter with the openness to be changed by what we hear, to be changed by the person that we meet. This work of interfaith engagement, interfaith dialogue is most transformative when you take it into your heart and when you let it change you, when you let it stretch your soul into something new and something different. But that only happens if you're really open to it. So these 3 vows, which I've largely translated into our own context, is to find a stable foundation while there, practice listening, and remain radically open always. They seem simple and are hardly anything but simple and easy. But as we picture ourselves on a horizon, we can invite ourselves to take root in where we stand on that horizon, to claim that place and the power of what that location means and what we're seeing, and to offer the gift of what we see to those around us, and to really, through that listening, try to find the full picture of what we are moving toward. And these values invite us into the best of interfaith leadership as well, standing firmly in our whole selves, faith, tradition, and all, while remaining open to each and every other person's wholeness as well, embracing both the horizon we see and the horizon that we are learning about from those around us. And so tonight, I want to especially thank and honor the young people who are here and showing that horizon to us already. We are looking to you, all of us in this room, Tell us what you see, what you think is possible, and I can't wait to hear about the horizon you envision for the future of this work. Thank you all.